Amazon appreciates the opportunity to contribute our knowledge and experience to creating effective AI regulation that protects society while giving companies a clear path to innovate and comply. Amazon has been developing and using AI and machine learning in our business for the past 25 years. Literally every corner of Amazon uses some form. And AWS has enabled more than 100,000 customers of all sizes to innovate with AI, including Italian companies like Enel, Aeroporti di Roma, Generali, and Iveco, to name only a few. There are many, many more. We see incredible value, both for ourselves and our customers here. And it's essential that we get regulation right for AI. The right regulation will safeguard fundamental human rights and safety while enabling developers to innovate and create. Over-regulating will simply drive developers to countries that enable their creativity. Developers have a choice. And the bottom line is Gen AI is here to stay. The genie is not going back in the bottle, no matter what regulators might hope for. And the countries that get AI regulation right will be the winners in this next technology wave. And recent data from the EU confirms the upside potential. A large majority of EU businesses believes AI will transform their industries, and EU citizens strongly believe that AI will transform public services, including education and healthcare. EU businesses have already increased AI use by 30% in the last year alone. This could boost EU economy by over 600 billion euros by 2030 if we can get effective regulation, not crippling regulation. The countries that create unworkable regulatory schemes will miss the revolution. It's that simple. And we are already seeing AI companies vote with their feet, deciding where they want to establish headquarters and where they will release their models. I've been part of many conversations with large and small companies, agonizing over where they could safely do business without creating massive compliance and legal risk. I've talked to several who refuse to train their AI in the EU. This is a today problem, not a tomorrow problem. As I said up top, developers have a choice and they will exercise that choice. Before getting to what effective regulation looks like, I think the recent Draghi report has some key learnings we should take on board. First, compliance burdens, legal fragmentation, and the absence of a true digital single market are clear growth inhibitors. Second, only 4 of the world's top 50 tech companies are European. I mean, that's just wrong. That should not be the case. Third, regulation is seen by more than 60% of EU companies as an obstacle to investment, and more troubling, 55% of SMEs say their greatest challenge is regulatory obstacles and administrative burden. I mean, think about that. Startups in the EU describe a 30% cost of maintaining compliance. If you really think about the kind of headwind that is when faced with global competition, and EU startups have a 30% cost delta. That's massive. Finally, the Draghi report states that EU's regulatory stance toward tech companies hampers innovation. The EU now has around 100 tech-focused laws and 270 regulators active in digital networks across all member states. Imagine you're a small company faced with that complexity, uncertainty, and expense as you try to build your business from scratch. I mean, even for large companies like Amazon, I can tell you from very, very hard personal experience, it's extremely challenging and expensive, requiring sophisticated teams of lawyers and experts. So the data makes it crystal clear. Countries that get regulation right will be the countries that reap the benefits of this AI revolution. And I'll add, protectionism isn't the answer. Innovation and investment are the answer, and a regulatory scheme that enables those things to happen. And what does effective regulation look like? It means regulating in a way that's easy to understand, implement, and based on real-world risks, technically feasible, and leveraging common standards and definitions, the kind of stuff we've been working on here with the Tech 7. Too often, I hear regulators expressing the fear that there's only one chance to regulate, so they have to cover every imaginable possibility, regardless of how real or likely. That won't work. Imagine if we'd taken that approach with computers, trying to regulate every theoretical thing you could do with a computer that's harmful. It's just impossible to do. You've got to start with real-world, high-risk use cases. So here's 5 quick elements. I don't have time to go through it, unfortunately, but 5 quick elements of effective regulation. It looks like this. It's multi-stakeholder and based on deep technical knowledge. We're working on that now with this group. We have to embrace and not replace existing laws and regulations that already apply to AI. We don't need to develop an entirely new legal system because something's AI. Existing laws apply. Third, a risk-based approach to AI is key. Focus on real-world risk. 4, consistent definitions and standards so we can make a globally interoperable regulatory scheme. And finally, we have to distinguish between the obligations of deployers, people actually putting this in the field, and the developers who make these big AI models. They have very different responsibilities. At AWS, we believe we have a broad responsibility to create an environment where AI is a force multiplier for good. And we appreciate being invited to this forum to make that happen. And I'll finish with, in the words of John Paul II, and with all due respect, given the different context, non abbiate paura. Grazie.